Hi, and welcome to another episode of Hot Takes with me, the Silver Fox. I did a video just the other day where Humza Yousaf gave the Westminster government an ultimatum. And of course, giving ultimatums is always a bad idea. People tend to call you bluff, and you either put up or shut up. Well, in this case, I think Humza Yousaf has to shut up. He threatened that he would cancel the deposit return scheme if the UK government did not grant an exemption for it, which included glass. That exemption has not been forthcoming. He said if it wasn't there by Monday, he would close the DRS. Monday has come, Monday has gone, and he has not closed the DRS. He is a straw man. He is an empty man, a man whose words mean nothing. His threats are empty because he has no spine. And on top of this, it wouldn't matter anyway. The UK government was never minded to allow the glass scheme to go through because, firstly, glass is so massively recycled anyway, about 90%. And secondly, it would save the Scottish drinks industry. They don't want to damage that by allowing glass to go into this scheme just yet. There's also a third thing which we will look at. I'll append this to this video. It could have had a standalone video, but they're so closely linked I'll put them together. And that is what actually the glass recycling people themselves think of it. But we'll have a look at this article first of all to see why Humza Yousaf is a man who can he can be safely ignored now because his threats are meaningless. Let's look. So Humza Yousaf told to get on with DRS as the UK government dismisses his effective ultimatum. Lorna Slater and Humza Yousaf have been told to work with the UK government and press ahead with the bottle return scheme, but without glass. Because basically you can't hold the UK government to ransom with ultimatums. They don't respond to it. They'll just say no. And then you end up, Humza Yousaf ends up looking like a fool. Well, I mean, he started looking like a fool, but he's ended up looking like an even bigger fool. So Humza Yousaf has been left humiliated after the UK government refused to recognise his effective ultimatum to allow glass in Scotland's deposit return scheme. And in a double blow, the man running the scheme said it can absolutely go ahead without glass bottles included. They've been pushing it saying, we can't do it without glass bottles. It's pointless without glass bottles. Blah, 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 blah. But the guy actually running the scheme, the guy they are paying £300,000 a year to for the next 5 years, whether the scheme is in place or not, has said, no, it can go ahead without glass. It's not an issue. They haven't got a clue, have they? The First Minister said on Monday, it is very difficult to see a future for Scotland's deposit return scheme if glass is not allowed to be included. He had written to the Scottish Secretary, Alistair Jack, issuing a threat that he could pull the plug if the UK government did not change its mind. And of course the UK government did not change its mind. And did he pull the plug? Did he bugger? In a response to the SNP leader, 3 senior ministers said, our view is that it is better for us to work together sensibly to ensure the rollout of the deposit return schemes across the UK as a whole is as effective as possible. The letter is signed by Mr Jack, as well as the Levelling Up Minister Michael Gove and the Environment Secretary Theresa Coffey. It states, in your letter of 2nd of June, you note that the Scottish businesses may face a competitive disadvantage due to the exclusion of glass from the scheme. Interoperability of schemes across the whole UK ensures all manufacturers, whether in Clydebank, Carlisle, Cardiff or Carrickfergus, have the same access to sell their products across the UK internal market. The exclusion of glass also ensures consumer choice is not restricted in Scotland, given the risk that differences in scope would have led to some producers choosing not to supply Scotland through online or physical sales. As we have granted a UKIM as the internal market exclusion, there is nothing to prevent you from proceeding with your own scheme next March on the basis that it would form part of the UK-wide solution to protect our shared market and increase recycling from 2025. So that was the official line from the government. They're happy to give you this exemption, but not for glass, but for everything else, but not for glass. And to use it as a trial, a pilot scheme for the UK-wide one. That wasn't good enough, of course, because it meant that they were subsuming, the UK government was subsuming this one, this SNP Greens one, into the UK-wide one, which meant that they would get the credit, not the SNP and Greens, and it also meant that it would be then all controlled via Westminster, not there. And I think the main part, of course, is all the money would be going to Westminster government, not into Scotland, where it could be salted away for little pension schemes, possibly. Because we know that there's a lot of dodgy financing, and this is another one of those. Let's get we'll have control of the monies on this one, and then we'll magically disappear. We'll ring fence it, they'll say. Anyway, the letter emerged less than 2 hours after David Harris, Chief Executive of Circularity Scotland, backed the scheme without glass. He said, if we look at the Scottish Deposit Return Scheme, even with glass taken out, it will still be one of the most ambitious start-ups for a deposit return scheme so far. He added that Holyrood and the Westminster DRS dispute could lead to knock-on impacts on similar initiatives in the rest of the UK. He said as many as 1.8 million cans and plastic bottles could be returned in Scotland each year under DRS, with Mr Harris insisting this is well above what we currently achieved in terms of recycling rates. So you've got the fact that he issues this this ultimatum, and nobody pays the blindest bit of notice to it, because they see him for what he is, a vacuous non-entity with a non-job. He doesn't actually represent the people of Scotland, because he's in a minority party. He wasn't even voted in by the majority of people at the first vote to vote him leader. So he is basically a nobody, and he's coming from an organisation, the SNP, that is shown to be crooked, that's shown to be untrustworthy. The UK government is not minded to allow the Scots to be rooked further by this party. They want it to be clean and above board, and so they're saying, no, we'll give you this, we'll absorb it and subsume it into our UK-wide one to stop any more money being salted away. So they don't like it, do they? They really don't like it. But you then have, on top of that, after he complains about, it won't work without glass, we're going to cancel it, and he doesn't cancel it, you get the guy that's running it saying, no, it's fine without glass. But we will have a look at this. We're going to just slip over straight into this story here. Humza Yousaf is humiliated as the DRS target claim is refuted, while Michael Gove tells the Nats to own up to failure. They won't own up to failure. They never get anything wrong. British Glass has previously welcomed the exclusion of glass from the UK DRS, saying it would have increased emissions by 2 million tonnes and boosted plastic consumption. If you'd have put the glass in, it would have been worse for the environment. But he doesn't know that, because he, as we know, is the sticker's champ. British Glass, a group with firm objections to a glass-inclusive deposit return scheme, has told Humza Yousaf that they refute claims that recycling bosses have been clear on recycling targets. The First Minister shared a statement from Circularity Scotland claiming that they have been consistent with a target of 90% when it comes to reusing and remelting the collected glass bottles, and went on to say it was proof of a malicious UK Tory agenda. That's what Circularity Scotland is saying. However, British Glass say Lorna Slater told them the opposite only a month ago, that the Scottish Government believes that at this time a remelt target is unnecessary. Remelting is the process of using old glass bottles to make new ones, a system that British Glass believes will be hindered by the SNP and Greens DRS. They publicly stated that a central part of the critical decarbonisation for our industry will be put at risk by Holyrood ministers, because they don't know what they're talking about. They are, and we know this, they're absolute morons who don't understand the glass industry. They don't understand recycling. They don't understand the energy costs involved in doing these things. They just have, it looks good on paper and people will think we're wonderful and virtuous and we're cleaning up the environment. They're actively damaging the environment because they're morons. I can't stress it enough. These people have room temperature IQs. They look at things. They do not investigate. They do not look at the full potential outcomes of the things they're proposing, because that requires a level of understanding, of intelligence, of critical thinking that is quite beyond them. They don't even understand what they don't understand. They're not aware of what they don't know. They're their circle of knowledge is so small that their circumference of ignorance is tiny. And that is to say that as a circle grows, as the circle of knowledge grows, the circumference of ignorance increases. And so the more you learn, the more you know, the more you realise that you don't know stuff, and so you go to experts. But their circle of knowledge is so small that they just think there's not very much that they don't know. In actual fact, it's virtually everything they don't know. They haven't got a clue. The Scottish Government should think again, along with the Welsh Government, who have also hopes of including glass, says British Glass, who cites the already hugely successful curbside collection. Chief Executive Dave Dalton said including glass bottles in a DRS would have led to over 2 million more tonnes of CO2 in our atmosphere. Split glass, food and beverage packaging into 2 waste streams, reduce the amount and the quality of recycled material available to be used again in glass bottles, and led to more plastic packaging on the market. He said, we've already through a convenient solution to improve glass recycling, and it is on our doorsteps. By recycling glass through consistent curbside collections, extended producer responsibility and campaigns to promote a better culture of recycling, we can meet the glass industry's recycling rate of 90% by 2030. It's already nearly there. It's about 90% now, but they want it wobbles, but they want it as consistent 90% with peaks of 95, I think is the official target. But they're so close to doing it anyway. You don't need to include glass on the DRS because the glass recycling is so efficient. And so putting this DRS glass thing is a made-up argument by the Scots, by the SNP particularly, not by the Scots, by the SNP, just to create more division between them and Westminster because politics. And there he is. Look, just look into that face. There's a man who hasn't got a clue. And he truly hasn't. He truly hasn't. But look at them all in the SNP and the Greens. There's not one of them with even a glimmer of intelligence behind the eyes. They're all morons. The whole cabinet. Anyway, I shall stop there and come up. There you are. You have an ineffective and stupid scheme that was devised by a moron who then presents it to the SNP. The SNP take it on board and say, yeah, that's a great idea. You then have a different moron, this one in charge of the SNP, giving an ultimatum to the British government. The British government saying, no, we don't even care about your ultimatum. We're not even answering your ultimatum. The ultimatum comes and goes. He then does nothing about it because he can't do anything about it. He doesn't have the spine to cancel it, because if he was to cancel it, he'd really annoy the Greens, and for some reason he's utterly beholden to them. And in the end, it all goes away. He's left at the moment that the only option he's got is to just go ahead and do as he's told and accept that he can run this scheme, but only as a pilot for the UK-wide scheme. So it won't even be the SNP Green scheme, it'll just be a pilot for the UK-wide scheme, which means that all the control of it will go to Westminster. He doesn't like that either. And then the head of his own Circularity Scotland organisation says, no, it works fine without glass. It's an artificial argument anyway. And then on top of that, British Glass are saying it's an absolutely stupid idea to include glass in it because the efficiency we have currently with recycling glass is so high that all targets are going to be met in a very short period of time anyway. But he'd know this if he actually talked to experts and realised what an awful scheme this DRS that was proposed in Scotland truly is. The trouble with the SNP, one of the many, many troubles with the SNP, is that Humza Yousaf himself is not very bright, he's got no political nous, and that he is completely controlled by the morons that call themselves the Green Party. And every single failure that is high profile and is destroying the SNP, every single one has come out of the mouths of the Greens. You couldn't make it up, which is just as well. Anyway, I shall round off there. Thank you very much for watching. If you like what you see in here on the channel, please hit that subscribe button, leave a like, leave a comment, please share the video. And until next time, stay safe, stay well, make your own recycling work, and goodbye.